Imagine standing at the base of a towering mountain, gazing up at a peak that seems impossibly far away. That's what starting your investment journey often feels like. You've read the stories of success, you know that investing is the path to building wealth, yet something invisible holds you back. It's not a lack of information, there's plenty of that. Instead, it's a subtle psychological barrier that makes taking that first real step feel almost impossible. In this video, we'll explore why making your first $5,000 investment is the hardest, why it's so crucial, and how you can finally break through that invisible wall to start your journey toward financial independence. Before diving into strategies or returns, let's confront an uncomfortable truth. The biggest obstacle between you and your first $5,000 investment isn't external. It's the conversation happening inside your head. Our minds have evolved to protect us from risk, activating alarm systems when we consider moving hard-earned savings into investments that can fluctuate. This isn't a weakness, it's biology. Understanding this is the first step to overcoming it. The fear you feel is real, but it's also manageable once you recognize its source and purpose. The psychological barrier to investing manifests in many ways. You might tell yourself you need more research, even after months of reading. Or you convince yourself to wait until your finances are more stable. There's comfort in watching your savings grow slowly, but this comfort zone is where financial growth stalls. These thoughts seem reasonable, but they're often just avoidance mechanisms keeping you from taking action. Recognizing these patterns is crucial to breaking free and moving forward. Here's a surprising truth. The difference between having $5,000 invested and nothing invested is greater than the difference between $50,000 and $45,000. The first $5,000 matters more than any other $5,000 you'll ever invest. This is because of the magic of compound interest and the psychological transformation that happens once you cross that threshold. It's not just about the math, it's about becoming an investor and shifting your mindset. Consider two investors. Sarah waits until she has $50,000 saved before investing, while Marcus starts as soon as he has $5,000. Both earn a 7% annual return, but Marcus ends up with more at retirement. Why? Because his money works for him longer and he develops the habits and mindset of an investor early on. The benefits go beyond numbers. Early investing builds confidence and experience that pay off for a lifetime. Once you've invested your first $5,000 and watched it grow and yes, sometimes drop, something inside you changes, you become an investor. Suddenly, market news feels personal. Downturns aren't disasters, they're opportunities. This transformation is invaluable. It only happens after you've committed real money and experienced the ups and downs firsthand. Accumulating $5,000 for investment isn't just about saving spare change. It requires a deep look at your relationship with money, your spending habits, and your definition of enough. Most people overestimate what they can save with small changes and underestimate the impact of bigger lifestyle shifts. Cutting daily coffee helps, but changing your living situation or transportation can make a much bigger difference. The first $5,000 forces you to make active decisions about where your money goes. This process can feel uncomfortable, as it often reveals a gap between your values and your spending. You may realize you're spending on things that don't bring happiness while neglecting what truly matters. This discomfort is a sign of growth, not a reason to stop. Becoming intentional with your money is a skill that will serve you for life. Humans are naturally drawn to round numbers. There's nothing magical about $5,000 itself, but reaching a round milestone creates real momentum. It's large enough to feel significant, but not so overwhelming that it paralyzes action. This psychological weight helps you respect the decision and commit to it. $5,000 is enough to matter in most investment contexts. It allows for diversification and qualifies you for lower-cost share classes in many funds. It's a meaningful commitment but still achievable for most people within a reasonable timeframe. Crossing this line marks the transition from saver to investor, a shift in identity that's more important than the money itself. One of the most subtle ways our minds protect us from risk is by convincing us to wait for perfect conditions. You might think, I'll start investing when the market calms down, or I want to pay off my debt first. These sound reasonable, but they're often just excuses. The market is never perfectly calm, and there's always some reason to wait. The key is to act despite uncertainty. Trying to time the market is nearly impossible. Even someone who invested $5,000 at the peak of the dot-com bubble in 2000 came out ahead by 2010. Those who waited for better conditions missed out on recovery and growth. The lesson: time in the market is what builds wealth, not perfect timing. Understanding why the first $5,000 is hard doesn't make it easier. You need practical systems that make saving automatic. Treat savings as a fixed expense, not just what's left over. Set up an automatic transfer to your investment account before you spend on anything else. This removes daily decision fatigue and helps you build momentum. When you automate your savings, you naturally adjust your lifestyle around what's left. Many people find that once the money is transferred out of reach, they adapt without feeling deprived. This approach makes saving less about willpower and more about routine, making it much easier to reach your first $5,000. Cutting expenses can only go so far. Increasing your income through career advancement, side work, or monetizing skills can accelerate your progress dramatically. Many people resist this, seeing extra work as a sacrifice, but reframing it as an investment in your future autonomy can make all the difference. The first $5,000 often requires creative approaches to earning more. Once you've saved and invested your first $5,000, something shifts. The fear doesn't disappear, but it transforms. You now have skin in the game. Financial news and market movements become personal. This creates both anxiety and engagement, but also a sense of ownership over your financial future. As an investor, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. Companies, skills, and situations that once seemed irrelevant now catch your attention. This shift in perception is hard to describe but unmistakable once you've experienced it. Your financial awareness grows and you start to recognize potential in places you never noticed before. Reaching your first $5,000 proves to yourself that you can do it. You've faced your fears, made sacrifices, and taken action. This proof changes your relationship with future financial goals. They become achievable, not just theoretical. The confidence you gain from this milestone will serve you for years to come. The most valuable lessons from building your first $5,000 aren't about the money itself. You learn to delay gratification, distinguish wants from needs, and bring unconscious spending habits into awareness. These skills are foundational for long-term financial success and personal growth. Financial freedom isn't a single event, it's a process. The first $5,000 doesn't make you wealthy or erase your worries. What it does is prove that the journey is possible, one step at a time. This realization is more valuable than the money itself, as it transforms your identity and builds lasting confidence. The path to your first $5,000 starts with a single decision: to begin despite fear and uncertainty. Open an investment account regardless of the type. The act of starting is more important than choosing the perfect platform. Taking that first concrete action is what matters most. Set up an automatic transfer to your investment account. Begin with an amount that feels challenging but doable, whether that's $500, $200, or even $50 a month. The consistency of the habit matters more than the size of each contribution. Building the habit of investing is the real goal. Educate yourself continuously, but don't let learning become an excuse for procrastination. Read a solid book on investing fundamentals, then start investing with a small amount while you continue to learn. You don't need to know everything before you begin. Real understanding comes from participation. Connecting with others on the same journey can make a huge difference. Whether online or in person, finding a community of beginning investors provides accountability, encouragement, and practical tips. You'll feel less alone, and the goal will seem more achievable when you share the path with others. The first $5,000 is the hardest money you'll ever invest because it requires overcoming both financial and psychological challenges. It demands that you confront your fears, examine your relationship with money, and commit to a long-term path despite short-term uncertainty. This is exactly why it matters so much. Earning, saving, and investing your first $5,000 transforms you from someone who dreams about financial independence into someone actively creating it. The skills, mindset, and identity you develop during this process will serve you for the rest of your life. Every step forward brings you closer to your summit. The mountain is steep and the first steps are the hardest. But every small action brings you closer to your goal. Your first $5,000 is waiting on the other side of action. The only question is whether you'll start today or keep waiting for perfect conditions. Remember, the climb is worth it. No matter how daunting it feels, start anyway. Every investor you admire began with a first step, often filled with uncertainty and fear. What separates those who succeed is not the absence of fear but the willingness to act in spite of it. Your journey begins with action, not perfection. Crossing the $5,000 threshold isn't just about money, it's about identity. You move from someone who hopes to build wealth someday to someone who is actively building it now. This psychological shift is permanent and influences not just your finances, but your confidence in achieving any difficult goal. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your financial summit. The first $5,000 is the gateway to a lifetime of growth, learning, and opportunity. Don't wait for perfect conditions, start your climb today. The journey is challenging, but the view from the top is worth every effort.